Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 36 of Generation GC, The River from Good Morning Revival with Logan White. My name is Molly Hudelson. I'm your host. Last week, we talked about Meet My Maker from the Chronicles of Life and Death, and next week, we'll be talking about a song from Cardiology. If you're thinking to yourself, hey, this intro doesn't sound like the intros or episodes normally do, well, that's because I'm recording this intro as a voice memo on my phone. I'm moving this week, so my apartment is a maze of boxes. There's so much going on in here, so this is just easier. The episode itself was recorded as normal over Zoom with my typical microphone a few weeks ago, so the sound quality of the episode itself should be everything you expect, and I do expect that my next intros will be back to normal, just a little change in the interim. Logan is the digital content editor at Substream Magazine, as well as the host of the Heart State Review podcast. Now, Logan and I have been friends for a very long time. We actually met back in 2012, long before either of us were at Substream Magazine, when we were both living in Ohio and running music blogs. So, we just immediately had something pretty huge to bond over, and we've remained in touch since. Logan joined the team at Substream shortly after I did, back in late 2017, and has since moved up to the editor position. Substream does something really cool in that they cover a wide variety of genres. The homepage right now lists 303, Megan Thee Stallion, Spencer Sutherland, but it all seems to be artists that the same kind of people will like, and I feel like it encourages readers to diversify their tastes. And they also really focus on quality writing and each writer's unique viewpoint. That's something that I really appreciated during my time at Substream, and that I hope you will appreciate too. If you're not already a regular reader of Substream, I really encourage it. I want to remind you to please continue to check out antisemitism.card.co and blacklivesmatters.card.co to learn more about anti-Semitism and the Black Lives Matters movement, respectively. Fighting injustice begins on the individual level, and it begins with educating ourselves. Finally, Generation GC stickers are here. Do you want a sticker? 2 things you can do. Number 1, go to blacklivesmatter.card.co, make a charitable donation to any of the organizations listed there. So many organizations that could use your help. Any amount will do. Number 2, go to anchor.fm/generationgcpod and support this podcast there. And that helps me sustain the show, keep it going, and have the equipment that I need, like microphones, headphones, adapters, as well as do things like get stickers and ship them to y'all. And then you are going to take a screenshot of either your charitable donation or your support of the show on Anchor and send that to me along with your mailing address. You can DM me on Twitter or Instagram at GenerationGCPod or email generationgcpod@gmail.com. That's about it for our intro. Thank you all for tuning in to another beautiful episode of Generation GC.
All right. So, The River. Track 3 on Good Morning Revival. Track 2 is Misery. Track 4 is Dance Floor Anthem. And then after that, I think Keep Your Hands Off My Girl might come next.
That's a song right there.
Yeah,
I did that with a song.
Oh, that is such a song, and James Boss and I had such a fun episode on that.
Oh, it's a fun song. Yeah. Like that is it's I didn't like it at first, but like it grew on me pretty quickly. Like it's a good one.
Yeah. So it's like you've got a bunch of singles in a row.
Oh yeah.
I'll have to double check and be like, is that really the next track?
Let me see. I think
I might have to come in and editing.
No. So it's Misery. Well, yeah.
Misery,
The River,
Dance
I Don't Want to Be in
Anthem.
Love. Yep. And then, just Keep Your Hands Off My Girl.
Okay. There we go.
Look at that.
So this track features M Shadows and Synyster Gates, vocalist and guitarist from Avenged Sevenfold. First time Good Charlotte had a collaboration on one of their records. Joel said in a statement on their website that we've been friends with Avenged for a long time. This wasn't planned, but it ended up working out. We were sitting around listening to some new music, and they liked that song, so we asked them to jump on. It felt right and sounded really cool. Aside from being friends of ours, we're also fans of their music, and since this is our first collaboration, we couldn't be happier that they're part of our record. And after Avenged drummer The Rev passed away in 2009, they dedicated the song to him.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's the song.
Yeah. It was released as a single in January 2007 in advance of the album. I almost said 27. Setlist.fm has it ranked number 7 on their most played songs list. They have record of it being played 220 times. Obviously, we don't know if that's perfectly accurate, but, you know, if you've seen Good Charlotte live since 2007, there's very good chance they have played it. Like, I think they almost certainly have played it. It debuted at number 93 on the Billboard Hot 100, and on April 14th, 2007, it peaked at number 39 on the Billboard Hot 100. It spent 6 weeks on the chart. It was the first Good Charlotte song to land on the Pop 100 at number 39. We can dig into this why in a bit. I think I'll leave this question for the end, but I want to like introduce it as like a thought point now. But I've noticed, Logan, and for people who are not necessarily diehard Good Charlotte fans, like they're more casual fans. They like the band, but Good Charlotte isn't their favorite band. Yeah. This so often is their favorite song. So yeah, so I think we can, let's, towards the end, we'll come back to
we'll circle back to why. Yeah.
There are a lot of references to the Bible and Christianity in this song, which we will dig into. And I did have to mention that Rate Your Music, which rated the song 2.76 out of 5 based on 110 user reviews, categorized it as Christian rock / pop punk / alternative rock. I was like, all right.
Oh, I mean, man. They're like Reliant K now. Yeah. My goodness. I don't know about Christian rock, but I get it. I mean,
right. I don't know. What defines Christian rock?
I mean,
like, is Switchfoot Christian rock?
I think Switchfoot is Christian rock. Yeah. I mean, they're all like Christian members, right?
I feel like Switchfoot is about as Christian as you could get without, like, Switchfoot is about as Christian as you can get and still be popular in the mainstream.
Yeah. Oh yeah, them, and like if you look at a band like Skillet, like it's not like a harder rock band, but like those are bands that like their songs are like, if you look at them, they're very clearly like about like religion and God and Jesus and all of that. But if you're just listening to it on the radio, you could be like, oh, this is like a good song. Like, you know, I mean, it's very clearly about like God, but like if you don't really pay that much attention to it, you could think it'd be about like a bitter ex-girlfriend. I mean, you never know. Right. So like it just teeters that line enough.
I feel like Good Charlotte has a lot of songs about like religion and God and faith, but I feel like, I personally feel like this is the one that has the strongest Christianity message. And we'll dig into that. But Logan, I want to help our listeners get to know you.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So first question I ask everyone is, when did you first hear Good Charlotte and what were your first thoughts on them?
Oh man. So I believe I first heard, I think that was probably around the time that The Young and the Hopeless came out.
Sure.
Because that was like the time period where like my brother really had started to like influence a lot of what I was listening to. Because before that, it had just been whatever was on the radio, whatever my mother was listening to, which was a lot of country music, you know. And there was, you know, at that time, like there was pop punk on the radio. I mean, Blink was on the radio quite a bit. Newfound Glory, you know, everybody. Good Charlotte was massive on the radio.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time when they were probably the third biggest pop punk band, you know, behind Blink and Green Day.
Yeah.
You know, so it was probably, I think it was around then. It was definitely before Chronicles, because I remember that album came out and I didn't like it. So it was definitely before then. And I mean, it was right up my alley at the time. I was really like stoked for anything that was like upbeat in that sense, you know, and I was trying to figure out what I liked. My brother liked that music. He liked Eminem. He liked 50 Cent. He liked Usher. He liked Limp Bizkit. And as you know, all that really stuck with me. Like there was nothing I
know that you are still to this day a Limp Bizkit fan.
That's right. I've still got the Live Laugh Limp Bizkit sign that have made for me. So it's there, you know. But there was a time when I really gravitated towards simply pop punk, you know.
Right.
And I think Good Charlotte, like being on the radio, played like a pretty big part of that. You know, I mean, every single they released for a while became like a radio hit.
Right.
You know, like there was nothing they couldn't do that would be big. You know, so yeah, it was definitely around The Young and the Hopeless is when I first heard them, and I was stoked because it was everything. I mean, it wasn't, you know, anything unique that wasn't out there, you know, because it sounds pretty similar if you look at like bands from that time, but it's there, you know, they've got a little bit more, I would say, like depth to them than like a New Found Glory does, you know, which is not a rack on New Found Glory, but like lyrically, I think they're very, very different.
I mean, New Found Glory does what they do, and like they definitely don't sound the same as they did on like their first few records, but for the most part, New Found Glory does what they do, and they do it very well, and people love it. You know, they were still selling out shows before, you know, when shows happened.
Yeah. Throwback to when shows happened. I mean, they were still selling them out. You know, I mean, they might not be as popular as they used to be, but you could say that about, you know, unfortunately, like Good Charlotte, right? I mean, you could say about any band from that time. Blink isn't as popular as they used to be. I mean, it's just that style of music isn't that popular except for when MGK does it, you know, and crushes it. So,
but I feel like, so this is the first one we're recording since that album came out. The MGK album came out.
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, I have hope that maybe this could like bring some kind of mainstream excitement again. I mean, All Time Low finally has like a #1 hit on alternative radio. So I'm not saying it's going to be All Time Low and only All Time Low. I think there's room for like other bands to come in as well, but
I mean, all Time Low is a band that's never been able to quite break through in the way that like many thought they could,
right?
You know? Because they came up, you know, when Dear Maria came out, that was kind of right after like Boys Like Girls blew up with The Great Escape, and they became like a radio band for like 4 singles, you know. And All Time Low never quite broke through, and then you saw 5 Seconds of Summer pretty much come out and do what All Time Low tried to do, and then but you know, they obviously had the backing of, you know, One Direction and that massive fan base, you know,
which was obviously huge. It
was huge. It was amazing to see, you know. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. All Time Low's record didn't really sell that well, but I'll give them that it was at the beginning of the pandemic, so maybe that's why.
Well, I mean, who knows, like with this song going so well on radio, like how that could impact future sales, you know.
I mean, it's impressive. I mean, it's very difficult to be 15 years into your career and get like your first kind of #1 single, you know, so. And it's their least pop punk song that probably has been like on that record, you know. So yeah, it's good. It's a good song. It's a good album. We'll see with them and MGK. If MGK does like a, you know, co-headline with a pop punk band, who knows? I mean, that wouldn't surprise me.
If MGK did a co-headline with a pop punk band, that would be so cool.
It would be Blink, if anything, I would think, you know, because that's the obvious connection.
He already toured with Fall Out Boy.
Damn, that's right. He did do that.
But that was before the album came out. And I think now, the thing is, like, now that this album is out, this is turning into the Machine Gun Kelly episode. But now that the album is out, like, so many of my friends that had zero interest in him before, like, love Machine Gun Kelly now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely. Well, we can leave MGK behind for now, but that's
I know that could be like a whole separate episode.
That's a whole other thing, but
So Logan, you're digital content editor at Substream.
Oh yeah.
You also have Heart State Review podcast, which was formerly a, would you say website or blog? Because some people get touchy about the terms.
It doesn't bother me. I mean, it was. I don't care. It's about the same thing, you know.
So why transition that like from a website to a podcast?
Yeah, I mean, I already have. Like, I wanted to rebrand it. But I mean, when I wanted to do a podcast again, I was like, oh, what am I going to come up with? What am I going to come up with? But I was like, well, whatever. The name Heart State Review is there, and I haven't used it as like a website since 2018 because I've been too busy with Substream to really run 2 websites. And so it really just
and this is, by the way, listeners, this is on top of Logan having, you know, full-time job.
I do. Yeah, I do have a full-time job. Yeah. So, I mean, Substream is sort of like a full-time job, you know, and so is the actual real job that pays bills. And it was, you know, I just wanted to do a podcast again, and I'm getting ready to start it up again for season 2.
Awesome.
you know, so it was easy to transition it because, you know, I had the name, had the logo, had, you know, 200 some followers on Twitter, I guess, you know, so it was just kind of an obvious thing when I was like, why not use something I spent 10 years on, you know? I mean, there's no reason to get, 10 years almost. It was 8 years when I stopped writing, but it's been 10 years since I started writing in 2010. So that's wild.
Wow. So how has Substream been handling basically the lack of any kind of tours or shows that people could cover? Because I know there would always be a lot of people who were like photographers, and that was kind of like what they did.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, a lot of them have kind of dipped off, you know, because there's not much, you know, when I can't ask them to do, you know, writing when they're not, like, their strong suit isn't writing. They don't really have that passion for writing aside from, you know, going with like the photographs, you know. So, I mean, we've kind of just been pushing through with, you know, what's out there. A lot of them are kind of on standby for now.
Right.
But, you know, they'll know that we'll take them back when that time comes and vice versa, you know. Yeah. So, I mean, it's right now we're just kind of, I mean, luckily more music stuff has been happening recently. You know, the music industry kind of paused for like 2 weeks, and then they're like, well, we got to keep going. You know, All Time Low was like, fuck it, we're going to still release the record. A lot of bands still did. Some of them pushed them back, but they're coming out now, you know. The world just keeps turning. That industry doesn't really slow down for anybody except for when they're kind of forced to in a pandemic, and even some concerts are still happening. So, like there's an emo night going on here tonight. Apparently, I don't know. I don't know. We could go off topic there pretty quick, but So I mean, right now we've just been kind of focusing on, you know, doing music stuff. I've read a couple like op-eds. I've got another one coming up here about Blink. So
is it the Blink one you told me about?
It's the Blink one I told you about. It'll probably be up by this time it comes out. So I've been finishing it on like the weekend. So I'll probably have it done this weekend and have it out next week. So
I can't wait to read that. That's gonna be
that's kind of what we've been doing, just op-eds, and Rajani's been doing a lot of like film stuff. So that's where we're at right now.
Amazing. Well, before we deep dive into the river, I like that sentence.
The river.
Deep dive into the river. What have been in terms of, I mean, you've done a lot of great, you know, interviews and op-eds, but in terms of interviews, I guess two-parter, like what have been some recent highlights for you? And what are a couple that are like bucket lists that you haven't gotten to do yet? People you would want to interview?
Yeah, I mean, so my favorite ones recently, I mean, I've done a few over the past like 10 months with Shinedown, and they're like great guys. They're really good guys. You know, we talk a lot. They talk a lot.
So I've heard.
He talks a lot, which is great. It's just, you know, when I'm typing it back up, my fingers are like, damn, like I got to break it up over the course of days because, you know, they give great answers, but it's just a lot. It's like doing an interview with Bowling for Soup. They talk so much. So Shinedown's always been a good one. I mean, I did a podcast back in April with Jarrett from Bowling for Soup. I'm going to try to do another one with him. So I don't know what that noise was. So yeah, I mean, those are always good ones. In terms of what I want to do still, I don't know. I really would like to interview. I still would like to interview Blink just for fun. Like I think it would be great. Tom would be a great conversation. You know, or if you could interview someone like Massive, like I think interviewing MGK right now would be fun. Like there's an endless
like
things.
Interviewing MGK
not to go back to him,
right? But like interviewing MGK about his favorite pop punk songs.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
someone's got to be working on that piece.
I'm
MGK
sure somebody
on the pop punk record.
Somebody like Rolling Stone or like Forbes is like drilling that in right now. You know, so yeah, those are. I mean, hopefully, you never know. I mean, people are bored right now. I'm trying to get Tyler Posey to come on the podcast because him and I have done a few things before. So. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming up.
Amazing. I'm so excited for that Blink op-ed. That's gonna be so good.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. So, Logan, when I had first told you about this podcast back in March, I mean, you immediately said you wanted to talk about the river. And I will tell you that a lot of other people had mentioned they were interested in talking about it, but I was like, nope, I got someone for that song.
That's
right. Why did you want to talk about the river?
So it's from the moment it came out, it's always been my favorite Good Charlotte song. And like I mentioned, I wasn't a big fan of Chronicles.
Right.
So I had kind of like dip out on Good Charlotte at that time. I was like,
Sure.
man, you know, I'll stick to their old stuff. It's fine. And then this song was the first single, I believe. It was the first single they released. And
yeah.
Well,
wait, to digress a bit. So they had been playing Misery live at shows.
Okay.
By that point, and I think they might have released Keep Your Hands Off My Girl as well.
Yeah.
But I think that was like before they had announced the record. It might not have been like a single. But yeah, this was like the first single, officially the first single from the record. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So that was the first one I heard, you know. At the time, Avenged Sevenfold was a big band that I was into because they were getting ready to release their record in October, you know, and it was a record for them that was going to be pretty different as it turned out. But at the same time, at that point, they were still kind of, you know, riding the high off of their technically third record, which was one of my favorite records at that time. So I was like, cool, fucking, like I get to hear like a band I really liked at one point with a band I really like now, a band that with Matt Shadows was his voice. It was for that song. It's a different sound for him because his voice had changed a lot from those earlier records because he like didn't scream anymore. Like he had damaged his voice at some point, like from screaming on those first two records. So his voice was very raspy on this, like much more raspy than it had been. And so it was a great like connection right off the bat. From like, I think they sound great together. It's a great style for, you know, Good Charlotte, I think. And then having guys that were like a heavier kind of rock band, like gave them some quote unquote credit, I think, you know, from people that were like, oh, that's like a pop punk band,
album, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's very, it stands out very so on the record because it's very different from every other song, you know? So yeah, it was always my favorite from the minute it's been released, and to me, they haven't topped it since, you know?
Yeah. It was like a turning point, I think.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. Let's talk about what the song means or what it's about. I want to hear what you think it means, then I'll share what I think it's about. And then, you know, after we've shared our opinions, we can dive into what the band has said. Yeah.
I mean, for me, I always looked at it as like a, you know, the song talks a lot about like, you know, being baptized and like kind of like reborn in some senses. That's why I've always kind of looked at it as a song that really like they talk on the song about kind of leaving, you know, like kind of leaving home and then coming back home, like trying to find your way back home. You know, and I think that to me is kind of what I've always like held on to, you know, of like the idea of moving on from, you know, what you had been in the past, you know?
Right.
So, you know, when he talks about, you know, being the prodigal son, being out on his own, trying to find his way back home, you know, that's like part of it that I've always kind of really held on to, you know? And then the second verse to talk about being like from a small town, I was like, yep, same. Like that's, you know, like my graduating class was 92 people. Like, yeah, I mean, that's the kind of small town I was in, you know? So yeah, I've always looked at it as like a song that's really about like kind of, you know, going on, you know, from what you were and becoming something different, you know? And there's a lot of metaphors kind of about that, but a lot of metaphors about LA and everything. But yeah, I've always kind of stuck to that because I've never been to LA. So like, I don't know what that means. So I'm going to take my own meaning from it, you know? So that's where I'm at with it.
So yeah, I agree with a lot of that. The river they're referring to is the Los Angeles River, which flows through concrete channels pretty much. I think this song is about, to me, it's kind of about two things. So on the one hand, it's about religion and very directly the idea of losing religion or losing faith and then coming back to it. And I think, you know, this person is at the point in their life where they're like, all right, I'm coming home. I need to come back. I need to come back to God or my faith or living a godly life, whatever that means. But they haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
I think it's also kind of about LA or Hollywood, the industry, whatever you want to say, and just losing yourself in that, you know, being this small town kid that has to grow up. And then it's like, okay, you're in LA and like, oh my God, this is like so overstimulating. It feels like they have the line, beautiful things don't always stay that way, which to me feels pretty jaded about LA. Like this thing that they, maybe it's LA, maybe it's the music industry. You know, it talks about feeling alone. The footsteps that were next to me have gone their separate ways. Which I also feel like is a reference to that Footsteps in the Sand poem.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think it could be. Yeah, absolutely.
And it is kind of funny if we're talking about being baptized in the Los Angeles River. It's kind of funny because he seems to be pretty cynical about the whole thing. So how is he being reborn or like purified in it? Maybe he needs to be baptized because of LA. I mean, you know, trying to separate, you know, the toxic, terrible parts of Hollywood and the music industry from the city of LA. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not shy on its biblical references like we talked about earlier. The song is like, I think you had it in your notes as well. The song is 3 minutes and 16 seconds long. Like very deliberately is, you know, I mean, it's.
So I'll read this. So it's 3 minutes and 16 seconds long, which, you know, listeners, you probably know I'm Jewish. I mention in the intro every week to look up info on anti-Semitism and how to fight that.
Yeah.
So the song, like, I don't know biblical references. So the song is 3 minutes, 16 seconds long, which is a reference to John 3:16, which I had like heard that thrown around, but I didn't know like what that was. It is basically a definitive passage of the Bible. And this is a version I have read. It may not be correct to whatever version you have in your Bible, but it says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life." So that's what that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I was raised up in a Christian household, and I don't know anything about the Bible. Like I mean, I know like the jokes that I often make about it, like half-heartedly, you know.
Right.
You know, about the talking bush and like, you know, Adam and Eve. Like I get like the simple stuff, but if you were going to ask me like anything, like I know John 3:16 just because it's probably the most popular like one, but I don't know anything else from it. So yeah, you probably know more about it than I do, and that just doesn't make sense.
from doing this little bit of research.
From doing this little bit of research on the river, that's more than I know.
So I found a great article with MTV News that the band shared a little bit about, you know, kind of the meaning of the song.
Yeah.
So I'll go over that. We can talk about that, and then we'll dive into some more of the biblical references in the song. So the song was written in Vancouver in 2006. So Benji said that the symbolism of the LA River in the song is that it's concrete, polluted, graffitied. And when you think of baptism in the river, you think peaceful and serene. And that's the whole vibe of the song. This was the visual in our heads while we were writing the song. And then Joel said, the river isn't so much about the LA River or even LA, but both serve as larger metaphors. LA is the metaphor of how in life you can choose two roads, and LA kind of symbolizes one of them. And then Benji goes on about how it's kind of a redemption song. At times we felt lost. And on this record, we really feel like we found ourselves, all four of us, as a band.
Yeah. So, that's where I'm at. Like I look at it as like that kind of redemption thing, you know.
Completely.
And I can see that for them. I mean, this record took 3 years for them, right? I mean, coming off the first 3 records, this was one that, you know, every band eventually says, you know, when they do a change in sound, that this is what they've always wanted to do. You know, I think I just read a Seaway press release that said like, this is we've always wanted to be. I'm like, yeah, okay, like I hear you. Like
I haven't.
Whatever.
How has their sound? I don't think I've heard the new Seaway stuff yet. Is it like?
It's pretty different. I mean, it is. It actually is pretty different. I mean, at the end of the day, like it's still like kind of pop punk.
Sure,
but like it's very different still.
Like different? So. How so?
A lot of it has like a lot of like kind of like indie pop influences to it, like some synth pop kind of stuff. But it's still like pop punk primarily.
Yeah, I'm interested to check out the new Seaway. I loved their first few records. So much fun live, such catchy records that I would, always play and repeat. So I'll take a listen. I don't, when you have a good band, and this ties back to Good Charlotte, but when you have a band that's a good band and they have good songwriting, they can play around a little bit and it's still going to sound good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's, like you said, to tie it into Good Charlotte. I mean, that's what they did with this record. They've never really done this kind of record again, really.
Right.
They've never made like a hard rock song like The River again. They've never made a song like Dance Floor Anthem, really. I mean, they've just kind of stayed away from it, so I hope they do it again sometime. And they've got all the time in the world now. I don't know why they wouldn't, just for fun, but maybe they don't want to.
Who knows? Maybe they are working on a record now. I don't know. It's been 2 years since the last one, but who knows? Like,
you never know.
They're, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, never know.
So let's go through some more biblical references. So the prodigal son, I was out on my own. I sort of knew what that meant, but I didn't really know what it meant.
Yeah.
So I looked it up. This is not a thing that, Jewish folk have engraved them. So I was like, I just wanted to research. So I am reading this from grammarist.com. I hope that's a reliable website on Christianity.
Yeah.
I have no idea. But they said, in the biblical parable of the prodigal son, a son receives his inheritance and travels to a distant country, wastes all his money in wild extravagance. Back, right? Becomes desperately poor, returns to his father, and is received with open arms.
Amazing.
Prodigal, here and elsewhere, means rashly or wastefully extravagant.
Yeah.
But in modern use, the phrase prodigal son has strayed from its biblical associations. It usually focuses on aspects of the parable involving the son's wandering and eventual return, and it ignores the part about extravagance and wasteful spending.
Yeah, interesting.
So
that's good. I mean,
I think it's like a little bit of both in this song.
Yeah. I mean, they talk a lot about, leaving to go to LA, right? Yeah. That would fit in with the song.
I think that's most of it, the idea of leaving.
Yeah. Yeah. But, going home. They talk about trying to find his way back home. That's literally the prodigal son is going back home, Yeah. So, hey, that would fit. That fits with the rest of the song.
It does.
It's amazing.
But it also, I'm also thinking about that first meaning of prodigal as in, rashly or wastefully extravagant. And I almost wonder if there's, a little bit of that in this song. The idea that, I realized if not extravagant, I've done things I didn't want to do or, in my career, personal life, whatever. And while I was lost, right?
That could be them. They what was I going to say? They go from Maryland. So going from Maryland to, California, and then they're both, at this time they weren't, Benji wasn't dating Cameron Diaz, but he was dating Sophie Monk at that time. So, they were both dating, and I think Joel's been with Nicole Richie forever, right? So you've probably been with her since this song. So coming from that to, dating celebrities and then living in that kind of glamorous lifestyle, being easily the third biggest band.
Who am I? What's going on?
That's a culture shock. You've got all this money, most likely. You write a song about making fun of the rich and the famous, and you inadvertently become the rich and the famous.
Right,
You're shit.
Because of that song,
So, it's, it's funny. They probably did. And it's not even a bad thing on them. I would be terrible with money. If you start paying me kinds of crazy money, I'd be like, F it. Yeah, I'm going to go out. And then, that kind of stops coming in at some point, so.
Right. Well, and it's, even if the money keeps coming in, you could very easily be like, oh my God, why am I spending money on
how much more money would you have if you didn't have 4 cars?
On fancy cars, whatever. I have no idea how they spend their money. But, even if the money is constantly coming in, you could very easily be like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yep, absolutely. That might be it. I don't want to say I can see it because I don't know anything about how they spend their money. I don't want to assume that.
Right, who knows?
But if you're looking at prodigal son, hey, they could just be talking, like you said, about things they've learned or things they've seen, but people who move to LA flame out and go out,
Yeah.
That's not uncommon.
Not uncommon at all.
Yeah.
One more biblical reference. As I walk through the valley of the shadow of LA, which I guess is like kind of below the Hollywood Hills, I guess. Yeah. So that's a reference to Psalm 23, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
Amazing. That's like, everyone's used that before, right? I mean, didn't Green Day use that? That sounds about right. It's like a very, very popular biblical reference to pull.
Yeah. So there are a few other things about this song I do want to point out, but while we're talking about the biblical references, can you appreciate this song without being a Christian, or, is it about religion, or is religion being used as a metaphor?
I think you can enjoy it without even remotely being religious. It's my favorite Good Charlotte song, and I would say I'm probably pretty far from being religious.
I would also say that about you. Yes.
I mean, a lot of people use biblical references to kind of either as metaphors or speaking on their own. It's a very popular thing. Even I think
it's also very valid that he could have just lost himself and not necessarily like lost his faith in God, but just kind of not known who he is anymore.
Yeah. Are they religious? Like, is that
Benji and Joel are religious.
Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah.
I really didn't know that. I didn't know if they were just kind of obviously not mocking. I just didn't know if they were just like using it metaphorically. They actually grew up and maintained their religion.
I believe so. I mean, they, at least through this song and the next record, Right Where I Belong, I believe they're still quite religious. That? They kind of always seem to always have been. I don't know, because I feel like very well it could be about religion and losing faith, because, without knowing them, I feel like if you lose yourself, part of that could be like kind of losing your faith or questioning your faith in some way. But I think I think even if you are not religious, you can definitely appreciate this song.
I'll still bop around to Switchfoot. I mean, I'll still bop around to Rely. Okay, I just saw, Skillet last year twice. F it. Like, I don't care. I mean, and I don't know if a lot of people are that way. I feel like obviously a lot of people are. Those bands are big, and so is, Good Charlotte. And I think a lot of people can enjoy like that section of Christian music. Well,
I was super into Switchfoot and Lifehouse in college. I was so into that. The only like negative experience I feel like I've had really with like bands and religion is, I don't know if I should say the name. It's not like a super big bands, but when I was on tour working for a nonprofit, we just had we'd hop between tour to tour, and one of the support bands, they were a Christian band apparently. I did not know this.
Was this 2012?
2013, yeah.
2013. Oh, okay. I know what you were talking about.
I
already know.
And I just remember the band. I don't even remember what was said, but I just remember like this. They were doing their kind of like preaching and like. Look, I'm all for a good give a emotional speech on stage of how far you've come as a band, or what this song means, or how much you love your fans, like whatever. I love hearing that stuff. I know some people don't like it, but this band had said something about like Jesus and people who follow Christ or whatever, and basically the way he said it implied that like if you didn't follow Christ, you weren't a good person, and like as a Jew, I obviously found that very upsetting.
Chris.
It was kind of like it was kind of like a, I don't think it was even this direct, but it kind of felt like a, well, if you're Jewish, you just like haven't been saved yet. And I was just like, no, this is not like, this is not how you do it. Like, I hear Switchfoot talking about, the God and all these bigger than life kind of questions they have. And I'm like, okay, I can vibe this, whether or not I believe, but yeah, that was not it.
Yeah, there's the ways to do it and ways that I can see like a Christian band live. I'm like, okay, whatever, this is fine, but like, yeah, it's rough to like kind of throw it down, people's throats like that, and they don't do it well. That band doesn't do it well. At least they didn't. I don't know if they even still do things. So
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's. Man, Screaming. That's. I'm thinking about that tour now. I just looked up that tour's Wikipedia, and I'm just going back through it. I'm just like, man, what a tour!
Yeah, what a tour! What a tour it was! What a tour!
Especially that year. Anyway,
it was a time. Some other thoughts about this song. So, Joel's vocal delivery in the first verse. It's kind of flat, right?
It's very flat, yeah.
But I like really noticed that as I was re-listening to the record, getting ready for this, and I was like, oh, that like gets me on edge. Like if he came right out with the like, on my own, that it wouldn't have as much of effect because you have to build up to it.
Yeah.
So having that like flat delivery, I feel like that kind of expresses like an uncertainty.
Yeah,
which I think is
Matt Shadows kills it. It's there's not a lot of things, and I don't know if it's part of like the way he delivers it, or at the time, like it's obviously kind of towards like the outro of the song, so it, that last bridge. But man, it's good. I love it.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite parts of the song. I think is that they're both kind of going at it, so it's
chills down my spine when he does the first "On My Own."
Oh god, I have to listen to it once we get off this, like immediately.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
it's amazing.
Synyster Gates' guitar solo is also excellent. It does not sound like something that Benji Madden or Billy Martin did.
Yeah.
But like it also does, because it also sounds like Good Charlotte, and when the band plays it live, like it sounds amazing.
Have they done a guitar solo like Simpson? Like, do they often do those?
Yeah, I mean they do like It's Her Birthday on Cardiology, which came out a few years after this. That had a guitar solo.
Okay.
I feel like they've had them kind of here and there. Like I don't think of Good Charlotte as like a guitar solo band, right? But they sprinkle them here and there. Okay. They don't always get enough appreciation, but like the solo in It's Her Birthday is so good.
Yeah. I think it also brought in that piece of Avenged Sevenfold, with them. Yes. Obviously, the song's a little bit harder than Good Charlotte. So if you're bringing in, obviously, the only reason you would bring in like Synyster Gates would be to him do something on guitar, not just kind of play, like us through it without doing a guitar solo.
I feel like that was a really smart move. I mean, the song it's a fantastic song, but hearing M Shadow's voice, hearing Synyster's guitar solo. I mean, I don't know how much of the band had like written that solo or if Synyster wrote it. But hearing like that, it does give the song like absolutely more of an edge.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good question. I don't know if he had wrote it in advance or if he just came in and like kind of ripped it in the middle of like the studio. I don't know. I would love to know. Like that would be fun. I would love to know, right?
Yeah. I have my guess, and this is a total guess, is that the band were like, I guess we should have like a guitar solo here or something. And then Synyster Gates
just did it.
Is my guess based on like what we heard, earlier about like collaborating with A7X. But that's obviously total speculation.
I know. I'm now thinking they're in the music video, right?
Yes. Although there is like a version of the music video that they're not in, but I don't even know if that's like available. Like I'm sure you could find it on YouTube. But there exists a version of the video that M Shadows and Synyster Gates are not in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wonder why. Why would you film two?
I mean, they're not in like it's not like that many different shots in the video, right? So it's not, I don't think it would have been almost any extra filming. Just like, okay, we'll use some shots of Benji here, some shots of Joel, I think it would have
Megan Fox is in the music video, right? Or am I making that up? I think I remember Megan Fox being in that music video, right?
So I have other questions here, but let's talk about this music video.
Love it.
So music video came out February 2007. It now has over 30 million views on YouTube, which
deservedly
is
so.
Yeah. So it was directed by Mark Webb, who also did their videos for Motivation Proclamation and Festival Song. The band performed next to the Los Angeles River. There's other footage in LA that kind of shows the good and the bad parts, like the glamour and the kind of not so nice parts. And basically the band are performing on a soundstage with pictures flashing on these like backdrops.
Yeah.
There was a thing on their website where you could upload photos of yourself and insert yourself into the video, which I obviously did. I wish I saved that. I wish I saved that. But I remember thinking it was so cool.
Yeah.
Jeffree Star and Megan Fox are both.
Oh God, I forgot Jeffree Star was in it. Yeah, he's been around forever. My goodness.
Hey everyone, it's Molly here, coming in editing. I wanted to address that we did include Jeffree Star. We had mentioned him here since he was in this video, but I did want to make it clear that neither myself nor Logan support or endorse things he's done, such as racism. We don't support that. We don't endorse that. We don't encourage that or encourage anyone to watch Jeffree Star's videos or buy his products, but for historical accuracy, we wanted to include him in the episode.
It is such a great video. It's
amazing.
And what's good is it's kind of a simple concept, but it's so well executed. It's not necessarily like a story. The band is playing and this stuff is kind of happening behind them, but it's so well done. And the shots of the band are so dramatic, the lighting.
Yeah. That's what you get when you get a movie producer.
Yeah.
In it, and to bring this thing full circle, Megan Fox, MGK, how about it? We're just really on this. This is a little.
Yeah, this is no longer a Good Charlotte podcast. This is now an MGK podcast.
My goodness. Yeah.
I had in my episode that just went up today as we're recording this on Victims of Love, in my intro, I just rambled about MGK. I was like, guys, please listen to the MGK album. It's so good. He's going to say pop punk.
Is amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Megan Fox would have been 21. This was right when Transformers. I think they had probably got done filming Transformers, and then she probably did the video. And I don't know where they found her because I don't know what she had been doing before Transformers. I don't know what she was in that they would have been this is the kind of person we need.
I mean, she might have just been a model, but I feel like she was. Yeah. She would have already filmed Transformers, right?
Oh yeah, she would have already filmed it. It's probably just a connection through agents. I mean, they're probably hey, who do you have? They're here's Megan Fox, and they're all right,
Logan, do you have any specific memories or stories that you want to share about the river?
The river. I mean, so the river. I mean, it was like I said, it was around that time that Avenged Sevenfold kind of changed their sound. And I really wanted them to do a tour together. I mean, I don't think I didn't see Good Charlotte before they broke up because the one tour I was going to see him on was with Boys Like Girls. Mm-hmm. I saw them because that show happened. That show happened in Newport, so I was there. So I saw him once before they broke up. I think they did another tour that they had canceled right before they broke up. I think that one was the one that was in Columbus but broke up. But at the time I saw him was the Boys Like Girls tour, which was phenomenal. A great tour. I mean, that's a phenomenal. I think the main was on that tour.
Yep, 2008. Yeah, 2008.
So
2008.
That hurts.
2008.
That really hurts. That's really awful. That is brutal.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was them. Boys Like Girls. Metro Station. I mean, goodness.
Oh my God, that is so 2008. It hurts. Did I ever tell you when I used to have Metro Station Thursdays?
No, but that's really fucking funny.
I used to, and it happened at 2 or 3 separate points.
Trey Cyrus Thursdays.
And yeah, it would each time it would last a few months. And every Thursday, I would listen to Metro Station's self-titled album in full.
Shake It. That's right.
And I would have to tweet about it. Yeah, and that was Metro Station Thursday.
Oh my goodness! You recently did one of these a few years ago, didn't you?
Yes.
I remember. Yeah, I remember it's coming back to me now. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I mean, memories wise, specifically with this song, other than just that's one of my favorite songs, I don't have a lot because, like we've talked about before, Good Charlotte isn't like one of my favorite bands.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm definitely more of like, if I go to my phone, like and I go to Good Charlotte, I don't even have like whole albums aside from Young and the Hopeless. You know.
Right.
Like I got that whole record, then singles from the rest. You know.
Yeah.
It's like I don't, because I didn't pay much attention to them for Cardiology because I didn't like It's Her Birthday. But it's not a bad. At the time I didn't like it. I like it now. It's okay. You know, so I kind of
feel like that wasn't
off.
representative of the album. Just as I feel like Keep Your Hands Off My Girl wasn't representative of this album.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, the only thing I've got from this time would be seeing Avenged Sevenfold and like losing my brother at a concert, you know, for Avenged Sevenfold. But that's not Good Charlotte. So
related.
Related-ish.
So my childhood bedroom, I had like posters hung up, but it was not just like 24 by 36 inch like actual posters you would buy at the store. It was like magazine, like 8 by 11s and magazine articles. And there was one, I want to say it was like Spin or something, because it definitely wasn't like alt press.
Yeah.
It might have been alt press, but it was like an Avenged Sevenfold feature where they just like briefly mentioned this Good Charlotte song they were featured in. And that lived on my wall for a good few years, right by my bed. Mm-hmm.
That's great. Yeah. Did Good Charlotte, I just saw this on the Wikipedia. Did they go on tour with Justin Timberlake?
Yes, they did. We talked about that in the episode that went live today, actually. Yeah.
No shit.
It was so weird because like I remember that I didn't even like I felt like I didn't even know about that tour after it happened, despite like following the band on MySpace and being on their email list. I just felt like I didn't know about that tour until after the New York show had happened.
Yeah, they hit Square Garden twice. You had two chances. You missed them both.
I know.
And they hit New Jersey. I mean, they were right. They gave you every chance, and you said, F it. I don't want to do it.
No, I said I did not. I don't know this is happening.
Man, give us that tour in 2021.
Oh, that would be sick, though.
That would be insane.
Honestly, though, we need MGK, Youngblood, and Good Charlotte.
I can see it, and it would be funny because I think the unfortunate part about that is Good Charlotte would they would probably headline, or they would play after Youngblood, I would think.
Yeah, it would be like Youngblood, Good Charlotte, MGK.
And then
MGK is definitely bigger than Good Charlotte.
He's absolutely headlining. I mean, I won't say Youngblood would play over Good Charlotte, but I don't think he's that big here yet.
No, I don't think so yet.
And even
it would be Youngblood, Good Charlotte, MGK in that order.
Yeah. Even if he was like the same size as Good Charlotte, I think they would give it to Good Charlotte for being like, quote unquote, having the legacy attached.
Right.
So that would be a tour.
It would be. I've just really loved MGK. This really is the MGK show. But MGK and Youngblood have both been really fun for me because this is. I mean, she likes Wallows too, but like MGK and Youngblood, I've like really bonded with my sister over. Yeah. And that's just been very, very fun. She's like, "Oh, we should like, I want to like, I'll like come over to your apartment and watch the Youngblood live stream." And I was like, "Okay, that would be so fun."
Yeah, my goodness.
So something I like. So this is also the Youngblood show now.
I love it. I love it.
So other songs that this relates to, or it's placing Good Charlotte's legacy, if you will. I see this song as a prequel to the song Right Where I Belong on Cardiology. Okay. So The River is about wanting to come back home, like realizing you're lost. And Right Where I Belong, he is back home. He is where he's supposed to be. So it's like kind of a pretty clear follow-up, I would say.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't know that. See, I didn't know that about that song, so that's fun. They follow that.
And that is a song that sounds very different from this.
Yeah. They followed that straight through, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. This was remixed by A-Pop Tigma Berserk for greatest remixes in 2008.
Oh, let's not bring that album up.
Yeah, no, we're not going to. We're not going to, because the listeners of the show already know how I feel about it. And in my notes, I just put no.
So bad.
Not gonna apologize. I don't like it. I don't like greatest remixes.
We would get sidetracked forever. I feel like
if anyone wants to come on this show to defend greatest remixes, I would love to hear your perspective.
Oh man. I feel like Epic put that out and they're like, we need some money, and then it didn't even work. Yeah. Like, it's just,
yeah.
Gosh.
Let's talk about the critical response to this song. So we got some good critics responding to this. But we're going to start with Plugged In, which is a Christian website by Focus on the Family. So they will and we've mentioned Plugged In before on this show. They will talk about pro-social content and like anti-social content, I guess, like, you know, good Christian content and like not good Christian content. So pro-social content, they say the river speaks of sin, baptism, and a repentant prodigal. You know, I want to be delivered. I've done a lot of things wrong, but I swear I'm a believer. That to me is a line that feels like
it does. Yeah.
This song is about God.
Yeah.
In some way. Not entirely. I think there's metaphor too, but I swear I'm a believer. I've done a lot of things wrong, but I swear I'm a believer. To me, that seems like this song.
Very much so. Like, yeah.
The summary advisory. They say, Good Charlotte seems to be on a journey. Self-defeating attitudes creep in. It's just like hearing that written out by a Christian website is so funny.
That's amazing.
Other songs see emptiness for what it is and long for something more. I mean, this is like
what rating did they give it? Did they give it like a star rating?
No, so this isn't like reviewing it in the traditional sense. Okay. They're basically saying, is this like something that like your good Christian children should listen to? Like,
oh my gosh. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. So there isn't Jesus enough for your kids.
Yeah, I think this website, there was another one, a very similar website that would actually give like what age they thought it was appropriate for, and then like users could say what age they thought it was appropriate for, so you'd see two scores. Oh my gosh.
Goodness.
And had similar things. But yeah, I mean, it seems like Plugged In Family, you know, approves of the river, you know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And says that it's it's something that your good Christian children can listen to.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Gosh. Okay. All right. Good to know.
Sputnik Music rated the album a 2.0.
Ooh, out of 5? Or out of 10?
Yeah, out of 5. Yes. You know, okay. So
they didn't like it.
No. So some of this, I will say some of this review feels very like, okay, like, why are you saying so much? Why not just say? But we'll read some pieces.
Okay, all right.
There's not a lot of reasons an album's lyrics wouldn't be printed in its liner notes. There may not be any. It could be too expensive to print. Maybe the lyrics are so insightful, so inventive that mere paper could not contain their awesome power. Or maybe they're not.
Huh. Does it really not print the lyrics? Huh.
Guess not.
I feel like that's
what the person was saying. I mean,
that's interesting.
You know.
Have to fact check that. Hit up Snopes, because I feel like that wouldn't be right. I mean.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Lyrics will never be that important in pop music, but it still takes some amount of moxie, which, by the way, I think they spelled that wrong.
How'd they spell it? Oh,
Mocksy. I think it's Moxie.
Someone called their editor. Yeah.
Yeah. Goodness. I'm gonna if I'm gonna criticize how someone else has criticized Good Charlotte, I am not gonna leave anything out in my criticism of their criticism. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But it still takes some amount of moxie to break a 2-year radio silence with the phrase, "As I walk through the valley of the shadow of LA," the opening line of lead single "The River," or if not balls, then a rush of blood somewhere other than the head.
All right. Some of this seems personal.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what's the issue with that line? I'm just like, I don't think that line
cheesy, I guess, but like, I mean, maybe if you think it's like kind of goofy, like
right.
Like, is this all right?
They mention M Shadows and Synyster Gates. they say that it's an otherwise decently constructed track that carries more than a hint of Alkaline Trio. I feel like are you an Alkaline Trio fan?
I am. I don't know if that's really an Alkaline Trio. I mean, I guess I guess I can see it. I've never really thought of it like that. Yeah. But yeah, I could see it being like a, if it's an Alkaline Trio song, it would be more like lyrically, like less about God and more about like wanting to die. So that's kind of where like Matt and God, I can't remember the other guys. I might have just interviewed him last year, 2 years ago. Matt and Dan kind of lies more of like the like heavy-handed, like dark kind of lyrics, So, but musically, I guess I could see it being like an Alkaline Trio song for sure. That's not a bad comparison by Sputnik, actually.
Okay,
it's pretty good. The rest of this looks pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's a pretty good one.
So they say the constant biblical references demonstrate some ingenuity, however corny, but it's the track's clever arrangement which scores the most points. They say that the album is inconsistent, downright sinful at times.
Now who's being cheesy with their biblical references?
Right. It also contains sparks of brilliance and some very credible pop moments. That they chose to lead with the river is understandable. They wanted to reestablish some interest within the rock scene. However, it's not a great pop song to begin with. But wait, are you saying that this is a rock song or a pop song?
Yeah, I mean, you can't. It's okay.
And probably signifies the end of the band's platinum selling days.
Well, unfortunately, that wasn't inaccurate.
Yeah. Right.
That was just. I mean, the interest in like pop punk music was fading very like obviously at that point anyway. Yeah. It's a good rock song. I think it was the best lead single because I don't know what else. If you're looking for like a lead single, I don't know this album has a better lead single.
Yeah.
Dance Floor Anthem is pretty good, but like I don't think if they wanted to lose that as the first single, I don't think that would have been good. Because that was a single after the album came out, right?
Exactly.
Because then you're going to be people like, what the hell is this? I mean, at least with the river, like you said, you got some street, quote unquote, street cred by bringing in like two, big guys in rock at that time.
Right.
Before you released the goofy, keep your hands off my girl kind of song,
Yeah.
I mean, it did pretty well, like on not pop radio, but like the Hot 100. So like,
well, but it also charted on pop radio. That was the thing.
Yeah.
This was like, which they like hadn't really charted on pop radio before.
Yeah, pop radio is kind of silly, but that's a silly review. That doesn't make much sense to me.
One more review before we read some fan comments from the young folks.
Oh boy.
The consistency of good singing throughout this album does not waver with the exception of a few songs. Although no complex harmonies or display of an extensive vocal range, the singing is kept safe. The river is an excellent indicator of this, showing off heavy guitar but balancing it enough that it doesn't overpower the singing but rather gives it a boost. Simplicity is a big thing with Good Charlotte on this album, and it comes through on every song.
Yeah.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with describing this as simple, but I don't think it's wrong. I think it's to say it would be simple. I mean, I guess if you took each song individually, I guess you could say like there's simple like a pop song, where the river, obviously, honestly, is like a simple kind of rock song, right? But there's so much metaphor, the whole album, but like especially this song.
Yeah, if you look at the album as a whole, I don't think I would describe it as simple. I mean, it's very eclectic for them. Probably their most eclectic album, I would say. I mean, I don't know that I would say too simple, but innovative. Innovative for a pop punk band in the same way that like Newfound Glory doing a Coming Home was innovative. Pop punk bands weren't doing that record or weren't doing Good Morning Revival, so
right.
It was new for the scene. I mean, that's silly, but hey, everyone's entitled to their opinion, even the young folks. So it's all right.
Let's read some YouTube comments.
Oh, this is like was that Jimmy Kimmel segment when they read their tweets or whatever that is? That'd be good. That would be a good segment if you could get Good Charlotte on here to read some like comments. Oh man, that would be fun.
Yeah. That and like I would love to get people who either wrote negative reviews or who just wrote mean comments to come on.
Yeah.
Like if it was one of the fans that wrote something that's like, I effing hate this, you sold out, I only liked the first 2 albums.
Yeah.
Okay, so Daniel Maher said, the phrase, when someone walks into a room and immediately owns it, can be applied to M. Shadows and Sin Gates' entrances on this song. Amazing.
That's true. I mean, they crushed it. I don't know who else you could get to do it. And I've seen, obviously, them play this song live, and it's good live. It is really good live. But, I mean, I was always just picture, like, Matt Shadows coming out for fun, and it would just be insane. Like, it would be great. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good fan response there from YouTube comments. Surprisingly, because YouTube comments is just usually a...
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah, this one's good. Good job, Daniel.
Parcellatry wrote this comment in September 2020. I just heard this. How have I missed this eargasm masterpiece?
Yeah, I don't know how you have either, Parcellatry. Yeah. It's been 13 years. Hop on.
A lot of people were saying that like M. Shadows and Synyster Gates like blew them out of the water and were the best part of the song. A lot of people were saying that. JS Mama Bear 2020 said, so the other day my son asked me what my favorite Good Charlotte song was. He was planning something special for my 40-something birthday. Of course, I love all of GC music, always have, always will, but with everything God comes first, so most definitely The River is one of my top faves. There
nice. Sweet. That's good. Yeah. I mean, hey, the people are vibing to this at 40 years old. That alone is, so they would have been our age when this song came out. So
ouch.
A little bit late to the pop punk quote unquote game, but The River's a song that lasts all of time. I would also say it's probably their song that has aged best.
It's aged really well.
Like, pop punk music, like their stuff ages, like they're, like The Young and the Hopeless aged pretty well for like in comparison to like that time.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, obviously, it's it sounds like pop punk from the early 2000s, which is fun. It's great. It's a great album. But if you talked about a song that could come out today and be on the radio, The River would probably be the only one.
Yeah, I could totally see this being on the radio today.
Yeah,
maybe Dance Floor Anthem. I could almost see Dance Floor.
Yeah, Dance Floor Anthem could be because like that's that kind of like dancey. Obviously, is in the name of the song, like a dancey kind of song. I think those two songs. Maybe this album has just held up well. The best of their records. Maybe.
I mean, when we did that podcast, I went to bat for this album.
Yeah.
I will always go to bat for this album.
It deserves it.
It
deserves that.
Upstream 53. I'm not going to read the whole comment, but they said that Blink-182, Green Day, Good Charlotte, and Sum 41 were so great at their best, very melodic, energetic, and lyrics that could truly be poetic. And this basically talks about how it's funny that like pop punk bands such as mentioned above would get dissed for being like phonies. Meanwhile, the Sex Pistols, who were like quote unquote the first punk band, were like actually phonies, like created by a record label.
Okay. That's true, but yeah, that's fine.
And then this person is like, hey, Blink and Green Day found each other naturally and started in garages. So
what is this? Are they like, so this is a comment. I don't understand this comment. Where are they going with this?
Well, I think what they're trying to say is that like people hate on bands like Blink and Green Day and Good Charlotte and Sum 41 for not being punk. And they say that like the Sex Pistols are punk. Yeah. But like really the Sex Pistols are not punk. We're like factory created.
I mean on the Sex Pistols. None of them particularly good. Yes, that's true. Sex Pistols were kind of like created unorganically, but also so was One Direction. I mean, but they're not punk, obviously. But like, if you're talking about good bands come out of like that kind of thing,
Right.
I guess that's a fair comment if you want to bring it in that way. But
yeah,
I mean, also, what is it to be punk?
Right.
Like, what is it to be too punk or not punk enough? I don't know. I don't understand that. Especially
that's like the actual question.
What is it to me? I mean, when this album came out, I probably would have been like, yeah, it's not punk rock, but like,
I'm so punk.
I was 13, 14. Like, I didn't give a shit. I mean, they don't know what, so yeah, that's all right. Whatever. I see all that coming. He also mentions the Spice Girls somehow. And Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh, that is a comment. He put some time into that one.
Yeah.
My goodness.
M Diesel. I don't even want to read this, but right this person wrote a whole comment about how Yeshua/Jesus is, may you find him now.
What is Yeshua?
I think that means like God.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
He is the light, way, and wait, hold on, let me look it up. It means Jesus. Yeah.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Yeshua is Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah, so I read this comment and I was like, is this person saying this to respond to the song and like to tell people who like this song to like go and follow Christ and be saved by Christ? Or is this just like a copy pasta and they're just like posting it everywhere?
So I'm looking at that comment now, and it doesn't say anything about the song.
Right.
It says, he is the light, way, and truth. I don't know. I think that might just be, something on either copy pasta, or he just really, really wanted to make sure people knew that Jesus is the light. Yeah. Whatever Jesus, people believe in, I suppose. But it's not that Mr. M. Diesel here was about, Jesus, but, whitewashed Jesus, so to speak.
Well,
but,
right.
Right. Goodness.
So let's go back to that question at the beginning, Logan.
Yeah.
Why do you think it is that like so many people who are like sort of more casual Good Charlotte listeners absolutely freaking love this song, say it's their favorite Good Charlotte song? Like, why do you think this so often sticks out like that?
I think it's probably partly due because it has aged so well.
Yeah.
And it's a song that I think people could like put on in a car if, and be like, oh, it's not like pop punk, it's not childish pop punk, that might be a thing with it, but I think it's just their best song. And so I think people resonated, but I think that resonated with people, that it's just, because it's not like it's a rock song. It's not a pop punk song. I know we've talked about, bands saying it's not pop punk, but like straight up, I would say this isn't a pop punk song. Yeah. There's certainly, I'd say, a pop punk band, but I don't think this was one of them. But it's not like it's not like a Avenged Sevenfold, like kind of heavier rock, like harder, like metal kind of song, it's just like a hard / alt rock song. And I think that makes it easier to kind of get across to people that like rock music, but don't like, quote unquote, whiny pop punk. Not that they were necessarily, but like people would associate pop punk with that,
Right.
And I think it's just an easy song. It's a really easy song to get stuck in your head. There's a lot of different parts that always get stuck in my head. On My Own just comes up all the time.
Yeah.
But so does, Baptized in the River. I mean, all of it,
Sometimes when they play it live, like Joel will say Baptized in the River, like kind of before, like as they're starting to play it. Yeah. And that's very, very cool.
It's amazing. Yeah. I think it's their best song. I think it's aged well. And people have latched on to that. it's not a song that people mainly listen to for nostalgia. I think it could be. But,
you think it holds up?
I think it holds up well. Like if I listen to the anthem, I'm like, okay, like it's a good, like it still holds up well. But that's
nostalgia more so.
A lot of nostalgia there, okay. Yeah. And I think The River is a song that I can like listen to and be like, damn, like I remember being 14, but also be like, damn, this song is still like
if you heard this for the first time now, it would still be good.
I would still be hooked on it. Yeah, I would still be hooked on this song. So yeah. I think that's a lot of it. It holds up well. It's their best song, and people can like listen to it that aren't like Good Charlotte, like you said, or art pop punk fans, and be like, I love it.
Yeah. Well, that answers like one of my other closing questions I like to ask, which is like, how has the song held up for you? And I think, I agree, it's held up incredibly well.
Yeah, tremendously well.
What has Good Charlotte meant to you over the years, and how has that changed?
I think it's a lot of it. My feelings towards Good Charlotte have changed. Like I said, at one point I was really into them, then kind of faded away. And I've never really got into them as much as I was with the Young and Hopeless, but at the same time, like I saw them in 2016. I saw them on Election Day 2016. Like that was my concert.
Amazing.
Like, I literally was at my apartment, and I'd been talking to their publicist about like going out to the show, and she hadn't said anything to me until I emailed her at like 7:00, like right after doors open. I was like, hey, am I on this? Like, what's going on? She's like, oh yeah, of course you're on the list. I was like, oh, good talk. So, I got it sorted out, got there, like right as 4 Years Strong was playing, and then Good Charlotte came on, and they were like, no matter like what happens tonight, we're going to pretend like it's not happening. And I was like, okay,
right.
Good. Because at the time, one of my friends worked at 10 TV in Columbus, which is like a big news station out there, like affiliated with CBS. So like she knew like as it was going on what was happening, and like I kept getting texts from her like, I can't believe this is happening, but all that kind of stuff. When Good Charlotte was playing, so like I was sitting there listening to Good Charlotte, listening to songs from like my childhood, and constantly getting texts and watching the percentage and like watching the electoral votes just rack up for Trump. I was like, well, shit. Like that moment, like I always have that moment. That was a cool moment. Like I mean, it's interesting because it's such like a good like moment to be like, what at a concert, like being at a concert is such a good thing to experience.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in the outside world, you're just about to walk out to a shit show. Like, people are going to leave that venue and go, holy shit, and I think like that moment is like the epitome of like what a concert is, right? I mean, everyone, talks about going into a concert and leaving, all the bullshit outside, right? Every band talks about that, right?
Yep.
But that was a moment that you could be like, yeah,
truly,
like,
yeah.
I'm just like, I was getting those texts from her. I was like, you know what? There's not a damn thing I can do about it. Like I voted, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I did what I could.
Right.
It just is what it is. I'm just going to sit here and watch, Good Charlotte and just pretend like that's a future problem, because it was a future problem at that time, And so I mean, to them, they've always kind of been around at different points in my life. Good Charlotte has been so, and that was like a big one. So, unfortunately for everybody, I won't be seeing Good Charlotte on November 3rd this year, or anybody on November 3rd this year. So I won't get a part 2 of that. So right now, they're the only band I've seen on an election night. So that's pretty good.
Amazing. I love that.
Wow.
Logan, do you have any last words about the river, about Good Charlotte, or about yourself?
I don't, but if you don't like the river, I don't know why. That's the only thing I would say. It's like I said, I think it's their best song. I think it holds up well. I think a lot of Good Charlotte fans like that song. I don't know if there's any that don't like it. I don't know. But yeah, other than that, no, I hope Good Charlotte makes a song like it again, but I don't blame them for not doing it, or I don't blame them for doing it, whatever they want to do. But I hope they do. If they made a River Part 2, it might be cheesy, but I would love it, I'm sure. So
oh yeah.
If Good Charlotte listens to this, please make a River Part 2. Let's go.
Take that note.
Take that note. I mean, they probably listen, right? I think they follow you on Twitter.
Benji and Joel both follow the podcast Twitter.
Nice.
And like they've all like Billy has like retweeted it, Paul has too.
Yeah.
I think Dean has. The band was like shared on Instagram, so they are aware of it. Yeah,
I love it.
Very cool.
I love it. That's great.
Logan, so I do a Generation GC and Friends Spotify playlist.
Nice.
Where I have the songs we cover on the show, as well as some recommendations from guests. So can you leave our listeners with a recommendation? Just something you've been digging lately.
I mean, like outside of Good Charlotte?
Yes, outside of Good Charlotte, yeah.
Outside of Good Charlotte, man. So I've been listening to a lot of very strange things lately, like a lot of like kind of older like pop music, a lot of like older country music.
Okay.
But if I was gonna tell anyone of like a new song to listen to, I would say like I really like the band Joan.
Okay.
I really like them. They've got a song called "Love Me Better" that's phenomenal. It's one of my favorite songs of the year because it's good. Like I don't know. I mean, they're kind of like a band that would sound like between like the band Camino and the 1975.
Okay, so very trendy right
that
now.
Song, it's very trendy. Like you can tell.
Not a
like
bad thing, but like
I don't think they're doing it out of like not being genuine, but I think they're that's a band that probably wouldn't have popped up 10 years ago.
Right.
So that's a song I'd be like, listen to it. It came out a few months ago. It's off an EP they released. I forget the name of the EP, but yeah, the name is Joan, and that's a banger, as the kids say.
Amazing. Logan, where can people keep up with you on the internet?
People, I'm all over Twitter. I'm all on Twitter. You can obviously follow Substream on Twitter. You can follow Substream on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter at ANIAFC. I won't tell you what it stands for. because it's a very, very
I know what it
strange
stands
story.
for, and you don't want to know.
I think I've tweeted it, but I probably haven't. And if I have, I probably should delete it. But yeah, at ANIAFC.
I wonder if anyone has like put it together.
I don't think so, because every time I tell somebody about it, they're like, "Oh, I had no idea. They just thought it was a knife." You know?
Yeah, I thought it was like initials or something.
Yeah. I mean, it is technically initials or something, you know. Yeah, but we won't.
I don't know. Are we giving them too many hints?
No, I mean, I don't know how you would piece it together.
It's pretty obscure, yeah.
Yeah. You would have to know, like, what it's initially from and then how, like, it changed under different circumstances. So I don't think anyone will piece it together. Very ominous of me.
Right. Logan, thank you so much for coming on the show.
I love it. Thank you.
Listeners, thank you for tuning in. Last week, we talked about Meet My Maker from the Chronicles of Life and Death. Next week, we'll be talking about a song from Cardiology. My name is Molly Hudelson. I've been your host. You can follow Generation GC at Generation GC Pod, P-O-D, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also follow me, Molly, at M Hudelson, M-H-U-D-E-L-S-O-N. And that's just my first initial and last name. Thank you all for tuning in. Please follow and subscribe to the show on your podcast provider so you hear new episodes as soon as they drop on Wednesdays. And please rate it, leave a review, and tell your friends.